Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning and welcome back to T is for Temidayo. It is 11:04 a.m. Today is Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. It is day 16 of 365 days of tea for me. Let's get started. Today, we are going to put this on my lower back because I'm still moving it around different locations. I have already showered for the day and left this part of my skin unlotioned so that I can successfully have this absorb into my skin over the next, got a little bit on my arm, over the next 8 hours. And that's that. Right, easy. This is happening faster and faster every day, which is really great. Um, plus today, once again, I have to go to work. Work. Okay. What are we talking about today? Let's see. Okay, so today we are talking about what I started talking about in yesterday's video, which I will put here or here, wherever they go. I think it's over here. We're going to talk about the conversation that I had with Hayok a couple of days ago that ended up not ending well. And was one of the reasons I was feeling really down in the dumps yesterday. Shout out to the dumps. We need them. We need the dumpsters to take all of our trash. The same way that we need, the air to breathe and the grocery stores to buy all of our food. Although there are alternatives to grocery stores, but I digress. Okay, so the conversation started because of the chat that I had had with Reed and their roommate, Chelsea. And, we were joking about like some of the side effects that come with tea. I think I was looking at a video on social media of this like trans woman that was like, essentially just like showing her before and her after and being like, my God, like estrogen really does a number to make people look younger, make their hair look fuller and shinier, like all these things. We're like, it's like the pretty hormone. And it's like, damn, does that mean testosterone is like the ugly hormone? And Reed was like, yeah. And I was like, I don't want to hear that. I don't think that that's necessarily true, especially knowing like how many T-boys, T-men, trans masculine people, people on testosterone for many, many months and years are like stunning stunning people. Stunning people. And ultimately, they look more like themselves or a version of themselves that they can kind of stand to see every day. But I felt like it was kind of a blow to hear that to where I am in this very particular position where I've been so hesitant to start tea because of all of the like aesthetic changes it will have to my person. And like I know about them, I'm like ready to experience them. And also like that doesn't take away from the fact that I'm still nervous about them. So that was a conversation that started. And then we had just ended up having somehow gotten to a place where Reed and I were talking about like folks whose like sexualities change and like all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, I used to be like a lesbian and I'm like a gay boy. And most famously, this is like a joke that James Tom does in his sets where he's like, I used to be literally like a dyke. And now I'm just like straight up gay boy, fag boy, like femboy, whatever. And it got me thinking about my relationship that I have with Hayok because like I am in many ways like both of those things. Like Hayok and I are both T-boys, and so in many ways, like I'm enjoying the benefits of already being in a gay boy relationship. And also, like, to me, there is like a part of my being that always feels very much like sapphic in the way that men and masculinity is not being centered. And so to hear in this conversation with Reed, you know, things like, yeah, the lesbian and gay, the gay T-boy pipeline, to hear things like, LOL, did T make them a misogynist? And like other people that I've known that I'm like, you kind of turn into like an asshole when you are on testosterone. Like maybe you were always in, wanting to express yourself in that way, but you felt limited by the confines of womanhood and femininity. And so you've been like stifling that part of yourself. And now you're just like ricocheting to the other direction before you equalize somewhere, hopefully in the middle, where it's not like completely self-deprecating, but you're not like a complete fucking chauvinist. And so yeah, all of these things were like percolating in conversation with Reed. So then when I saw Hayok, I think, I'm not sure it was that night, it might have been a couple of nights later, and I was like, I want to kind of talk to them about this, to get their opinion, to let them know my fears based on that conversation. I like mentioned it, like, I'm afraid of like becoming a touch me not, touch me not is someone that's like, I don't want to be touched when it comes to like sexual pleasure, sexual engagement. And I had mentioned that. I had mentioned, like what I'm scared, like that my sexuality will change, and all of a sudden I'll be like trying to be with like boys, like cis boys with phalluses and stuff. And I was like actually afraid in this conversation. And then they essentially said to me, like, if you are a touch me not, like we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll find a way, blah blah blah. But then I think I was expecting them to have a similar reaction when I was telling them about the fears in terms of my attraction changing. And they were essentially like, I don't want to hear about that part. Like, if that is something that changes, like, I'd rather hear about it at like after it's changed. And that threw me for a loop because I was thinking to myself so many things at the same time. One, like, this is not an actual thing that's happening. This is a fear that may be on the spectrum of rationality at this point, and I'm just hoping to kind of talk to the person that I am closest to about this fear so that we can kind of handle it together. And like, I sort of felt like I really wanted that statement to be taken in the context of everything else I was saying, which is like my relationship to my body feel like I know it has the potential to change, and it's freaking me out, because it's not just like me that relates to my body. I'm not the only one relating to my body. It's my friends, it's my community, it's my chosen people, it's my lovers, it's, everyone that I see on the day to day. And like, if I happen to be engaging in something that's pleasurable or sexual or amicable or platonic or whatever, like, I want to consistently have the advice of someone that I trust about how they navigated it, not because I necessarily want to build my understanding completely based on their their way of doing it, but because I'm like, I know I've already heard from this camp of people that are like, yeah, you know, your sexuality might change. Yeah, you might become more of an asshole. Yeah, you might become more of a misogynist. Yeah, you might start centering men in your life more. And I'm like, I need there to be another camp of people who I can receive counsel from that tell me, like, there is another way to do this so that I can have all perspectives while I am creating my own. And it's like, I don't really want to create my perspective outside of the confines of the reality of the communities that I'm in. I know that sounds really fucking like dependent and like, not how we're supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be like locked in a room or like out in the forest and figuring it out yourself. But I am not that person. I know I'm not. I never have been. I don't really want to be at this point in my life. Like, I've tried to kind of be this all, all alone. I make up my own. Hold on. My alarm's going off because I gotta go to work. But yeah, like I was saying, like I'm not really interested in being this like, oh, I can figure it all out by myself. The only opinion I hear about is my own. Like I exist in community on purpose. And so to me, that means being able to have all perspectives while I make an informed decision. It's one of my favorite things to do is make an informed decision based on the information that I have been presented and based on what it is that I know, based on our history, etc., etc., etc. Building my opinion in a void is not going to help anybody. And so I'm like, I really needed that to be a part of the conversation, and it wasn't. And it sucks. It absolutely fucking sucks, especially to be having this conversation with someone that I'm in love with, someone that I'm practicing romantic love with, pleasureful love with, sexual love with. It sucks that that was like a stalemate in our conversation, and it threw me for a loop and it triggered them, and it was just like there are so many reasons why I wanted that conversation to be better. And I'm hoping that the next time we engage in that subject, we can talk about it with more confidence, a clearer mind, more peace and joy and curiosity instead of judgment and insecurity and fear. I know I was coming in with fear and that triggered their insecurity, and so we ended up where we ended up. And I'm like, there's got to be a version of this conversation where we can lead with more like curiosity and more listening, and deeper breaths, and knowing that like there's so much love in this relationship, like that's not going to change, that's not going to go anywhere. And I want to be able to meet these different parts of myself with this person. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Whew, that is what I'm hoping for. And on that, it is 11:17 and I have to go to work. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you tomorrow. Love you. Bye.